was at the threshold of my career. I was dating this very fancy girl. We'd written a script together. Shah Rukh Khan had said yes to act in it. Priyanka Chopra had said yes to act in it. Instead, I got deported. And the terrorist attacks happened in Bombay, the 26/11 attacks. And immediately overnight, the government changed. So I went back to India. And when I went back to India, I met my ex-girlfriend. And the wedding film started from that.
Is there ever any acting with weddings? Or do you think it's real emotion? Have you ever experienced somebody lying about their emotions at their wedding?
Yes.
Really? What's the difference you see between arranged marriages and love marriages when you're filmmaking?
I've had many, not one, many girls tell me that line, that they're only getting married because it's what their mother and father want for them. And the mother and father have chosen this boy. And the boy is good, he's rich, she's going to be well looked after, she can travel the world, she can buy her bag, she's not going to be any stressed.
Do you ever hear men saying that to you about marrying a girl? Shooting celebrity weddings, and I guess, non-celebrity weddings. Is there a difference? There are some people, like celebrities and high-profile guests, who perhaps aren't nice people. Have you ever said no, not because you're not available, but to someone who's very high-profile, because you don't actually get a good vibe?
I have. I've done it quite a few times, actually.
How do you say no?
Vishal, hello.
This is exciting.
This is very exciting. I'm so happy you're here. Considering everyone, he's getting married on Friday. Today is Monday, and he's sitting here with me. So I am really grateful that you took the time. And I'm so excited to have this conversation. Pardon?
Lucky me twice over. I get to do this podcast with you, and I get to get married on Friday.
Comparison. That's so sweet. I don't think your future wife will be that happy that you compared a podcast to the happiest day of your life, but it's okay. We can cut that bit out. But for people who don't know who you are, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I film weddings for a living. I started off about 14 years ago, but I think 2 years into what I started doing, it became a success. And we were one of the first to do something like this. It was film weddings very cinematically back home in India. Make it very Bollywood-esque, add music to it. And we used to create our own tracks, and music is in my blood. So it's something I always wanted to do. And now it's exploded. We did a bunch of celebrity weddings, and Bollywood rules the roost and dictates what happens to Indians everywhere in the world. And now it's a thriving, living, breathing company called The Wedding Filmer.
Yeah, I mean, you have grown it tremendously, and you do film the best weddings in the world. I want to kind of go back into kind of why you started in videography and why you thought it was so important to kind of bring this, because you said you're one of the first companies to start doing this.
One, I needed the money. I quit my job. So imagine the scene. My then girlfriend was pregnant. And that same day when she found out she was pregnant, I quit my job. Not that I knew she was pregnant before it. And so I come home and she tells me I'm pregnant, and I'm like, I just quit my job. And that's not a very nice scene for an opening of a movie. Because it's like stress. And I was like, okay, I need to get my act in order. And I used to do advertising, and I used to work with Shah Rukh as his creative director.
Shah Rukh Khan.
Shah Rukh Khan.
Just casually, or just like I used to work with Shah Rukh.
That was my day job for a decade.
How did you get that?
I was in London studying, being miserable in the cold. And I got fed up of being in London. I really wanted to move to India. I worked on this website called balltaser.com, and this website exploded. It won lots of design awards and all of that. And he was at that point of time looking for a web designer for his, this is in 99, early 2000s, when there was a .com boom going on. Yes. Yahoo was doing really well, and all these like strange websites were coming up. And he wanted to start this Bollywood portal where you could stream music, you could watch his films, you could have like specialized content created by him for his fans all around the world.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, this is exciting. So I wrote to him. I applied for a job. I got the job. I even got to speak to him personally before leaving. At first, I thought it was a hoax.
Yeah.
And then I landed up there, and 3 months later, the company shut down because the guy who was funding it got arrested, and the .com thing crashed right then. So I was like, oh shit, now I have to pack my bags and go back. But then I think he liked me. I was really good at what I was to do. And then he was making a movie called Ashoka. So he's like, wait, you don't go back. I'm going to move you on to this company, which is Red Chilies, and then you come and work on this movie with us. And I got really excited. And then I kind of wiggled my way in through Bollywood. And
my gosh. And actually, that song has just gone viral on TikTok. Have you seen everyone doing that song?
Which song?
I'm not going to sing it. You know, the Ashoka song.
The Ashoka song?
Yeah.
Really?
It's gone viral. It's like I'm not going to sing it. I'll insert it. I can't.
I can see you want to. I can see you're dying to sing it. It's right there.
You know what? I was 100% right because I'm like, but I'm not going to. I'm not going to because I'm gonna butcher it. But anyway, that has gone viral, which is very interesting. But okay, so you kind of started working with him in Red Chillies. Mm-hmm. Then what happened?
So then, in 2008, I got deported from India. Strange because I'm Indian and then my name is Vishal Punjabi, and then you think, how would they even find me? But they found me. I was working on a work visa. I was in theory from Ghana. So I was on a Ghanaian visa, on a Ghanaian passport with an Indian visa, and I kind of overstayed my visa, and I didn't think it was such a big deal. Lesson learned. Because I figured I was in India, I was like, we'll figure it out. You know,
Yeah.
it's a visa. Like, I'm not killing anyone. I'm not doing anything wrong.
Right.
And I couldn't do it because I was on a shoot. I was really hectic, so I couldn't leave the shoot to come back. We're producing this massive campaign for Jet Airways, which is now the airline doesn't exist. And yeah, I couldn't go back home to renew the visa, so I overstayed. And the unions at that point of time were very anti-Islam and anti-Muslim, and Shah Rukh Khan was Muslim, so they used to come to the sets and harass everyone. And they found out that I was not Indian, someone told them, and then found out that I was on a visa, and then found out my visa had expired. So then they made a big deal out of it. So when I went to get it renewed, they kind of deported me and said, you have to leave. And I was banned to come back for 10 years. So that was scary. And then I moved to Ghana in Africa.
No way. So you'd basically, what I'm hearing is you'd built up this, you know, career with Shah Rukh Khan, which for people who don't know, okay, just Google him. He's the most famous actor of all time. From anyone is what I've heard, is like the highest paid actor in the world.
One of them.
And he is amazing as well. I actually have photos of me kissing Shah Rukh Khan when I was like 8 years old, on the cheek, by the way. So I saw him at a concert, and actually my uncle sent it to me the other day, and I'm like grabbing onto him, like kissing his cheek. So like, as if I've seen like a teddy bear, and like giving him a rose. I was like, and still am obsessed with him. But you were working with him. Mm-hmm. And now you're deported back to Ghana, and you're not allowed to return to India for 10 years.
10 years.
So how did that impact you in terms of your relationship with him?
With Shah Rukh Khan or with me or myself?
Well, you, and then your relationship with him, and then your work, because I presume...
I was distraught. Imagine someone pulls the rug out of your feet, and I was at the threshold of my career. I'd written a script. I was dating this very fancy girl. Thought we were going to get married. I was really into her. We'd written a script together. Shah Rukh Khan had said yes to act in it. Priyanka Chopra had said yes to act in it. I was 28 years old, mind you. If I made that film when I was 28 years old, I would have been the biggest asshole you would have ever known. Because then it would have gone to my head and I wouldn't have been able to handle it. I don't think I was ready. But instead, I got deported. And then I'm stuck in my father's house. And my father's a hermit. He lives in the village, in the sawmill, in the forest, because he deals in timber exports. So there's no connectivity. There's like nothing. There's barely any electricity.
No Wi-Fi.
No Wi-Fi, no Facebook, no nothing. And I could see my friends were like advancing their careers, and I'm stuck there saying I'm this filmmaker, I'm a director, but I'm stuck in Ghana and I couldn't leave. So that was scary. That was horrible. One day I think I just had to get up, and when my girlfriend broke up with me, she said, "Babe, do you know what happens in Ghana?" And I said, "What?" And she's like, "Nothing." She's like, "I'm not coming to Ghana." And I'm like, "Oh, well, fair enough. There's nothing happening in Ghana for her. She had a thriving career in India." So I left and I went to the capital city and I tried to find myself a small camera. And I told people I'm a filmmaker, so let me make ads for you. So I found this diaper, and I found a toothpaste brand company, and I found this guy who was making sanitary pads, and I started making local ads for them. And that did really well, because the local ads before that were shot on really shady VHS PD150 cameras, and I brought in a certain level of finesse to them, good sound, good music, good visuals, good graphics. And suddenly the advertising industry in Ghana kind of was uplifted. And by the end of it, in a span of a year and a half of doing this in Ghana, I set up a successful production house. We had cameras, like proper red cameras. I had a ragtag crew of art directors and mechanics as grip guys, but we figured it out. I had post-production guys who I trained myself. And the company started doing some good work. In fact, like when I was leaving, a lot of big productions in Africa ended up going to Egypt and South Africa. But by the end of it, they were coming to Ghana to me to get them produced. So I was making lots of money. I bought myself a beach house. I had a new girlfriend. She was Ivorian. I said, okay, this is great. This is going to be my life. I'm going to have little babies on the beach. And I want to be chilling in Ghana. And then the terrorist attacks happened in Bombay, the 26/11 attacks. And immediately overnight, the government changed because I think the main minister did something off or was disrespectful to the dead or something. And there was a huge hue and cry, and he was booted out. And the new guy came in, who was very well known to Shah Rukh, Pranab Mukherjee, the new foreign minister. So he looked at my case and was like, this is ridiculous. He doesn't need to be deported. Please bring him back. In fact, I'd met Pranab Mukherjee once on an event, like a long time ago. So he kind of remembered that there was this boy. So he immediately signed my visa and said, please allow him to come back, and cancelled my deportation thing, which was 2 years after I had been deported. So now I was like, oh my gosh. Then I was thinking, should I go back or should I stay here now? What do I do? Because I've set up a life here now.
Yeah.
But then there was that call of making a film, which I couldn't really do in Africa properly, the way I wanted. So I went back to India. And when I went back to India, I met my ex-girlfriend, who is now my ex-wife. And the wedding film started from that episode where she was pregnant, I was jobless, and I was like, okay, I need to do something. So she's like, okay, first, before we do anything, we need to get married. And I'm like, okay, we need to get married. But now I was broke because I just quit my job. So we had this small 3,000 pound wedding in my aunt's farmhouse. Very small, very intimate. We had biryani and kebabs for lunch. We had a very basic bar with like very basic beer and wine. And that was it. But I ended up filming that wedding. She wanted a videographer, and I was like, we don't have the budget for a videographer. And back then, videography wasn't really a thing. There used to be this video guy with a wire, and he'd wear shorts, and then every time he'd bend down, you'd see his bum crack. So I was like, you don't want that guy. Like, what will you do with him? And there was no place for them to stay, so I was like, I'll film it myself. And while filming it, and I remember like seeing the bouquet and the nice outfits and the wedding and the music, and I was like, okay, this is fun. This is like a movie. And then I started cutting it, and while cutting it, and I felt a lot of joy because you're cutting it, it's for someone special, and you think it's gonna like make her happy. And then I showed it to her, and she started crying, and then I showed it to family, and I put it up on Facebook because most of my family live in London and Africa, and they shared it, and then it became viral, like in a big way. And suddenly I started getting people writing to me saying, do you want to do this? And while I was cutting it, I knew somewhere like this was an option for me because I was finding work. And advertising work was coming in scarce. That this is 2008, 2009 when the recession had just hit. So all the big campaigns that people were doing, there was like the first thing they would cut was marketing budgets.
Of course.
So advertising was suffering. Bollywood, I didn't want to work in anymore. Shah Rukh was making this movie called Rawan. So he's like, come work on Rawan. But Rawan had 36 cameras. I didn't really like the script. The people who were working on it, and I was just like, I'm not sure. And it's 2 years of your life again when you're expecting a baby. So I decided not to. And I decided to start this company instead. And it just, once I did my first wedding, it just took off. It exploded. But in 2013, I did my first Indian wedding. For the first 3 years, no Indian hired me.
No way.
Yeah, because they're so used to, Indians are very used to what they know. And, they wouldn't want to experiment to try something new unless they've seen it be successful. And then everybody wants to do it.
Yeah. That's so interesting. I mean, you said so many different things there. First of all, when you were saying we had a very small 3,000, I was like, don't say you had a 3,000 person wedding and it's small. I was like, no. When you said 3,000, I was like, 3,000 people?
There were 40 people at my wedding.
I love that. I think that's very small. So special. And, the one thing I've just got from what you've just said is you had something that you were doing, right? In terms of you're in India. Then you went back to Ghana and you yourself were like, went to these companies and said, can I shoot this for you? Can I shoot that for you? And that came something successful. But then you came back to India with your ex-wife now, and you filmed this wedding video because it's something she wanted. And then whilst you were cutting it, again, you were just doing it out of love, And this experimentation is actually what's got you to doing what you love now.
Without doubt.
Right?
When you're working with Shah Rukh Khan, you're spoiled. You see, you get the best of everything. You get the best cameraman, you get the best makeup artist, you get the best sets, you get the best art directors. When you're in Ghana trying to make an ad, there's no film industry. So you have to figure it out all on your own. You have to figure out costumes. Earlier, if I wanted costumes, I'd just call like a costume stylist, and the best would drop Manish, and all these guys would drop everything to come and do his outfits for him and make him look stylish, because it's Shah Rukh Khan. But when it's in Ghana, there's no one, so I have to go to the markets myself and buy clothes for the kids and figure out what will look nice. I had to figure out lighting, I had to figure out cinematography myself. I didn't hire on another cameraman. I think that's why I truly learned filmmaking. When you're thrown in the deep end and you have to figure it out on your own. There was no YouTube to teach you.
Yes.
I didn't have my friends to like consult with and ask questions to. So I had to figure it out all on my own with trial and error. But that was exciting. So I think when I came back, the thought, and it was very daunting to work with a big Shah Rukh Khan film again with 36 cameras. I wanted to do something more hands-on, more small, more documentary-like. I started doing this really cute campaign. It was for the United Nations in Ghana, where we went to villages and we started filming fictional stories, like short stories. They all had a theme. So some of them were like about malaria prevention or health and sanitation or HIV awareness. And we'd use the villagers in the villages to shoot them in the morning. And then we'd edit in our vans. And then we'd show them the videos at night on a big screen. And they were celebrities, because like the orange seller and the cycle repair guy were the hero and the heroine. And suddenly like everybody was like wanting to be their friend. But what I also realized was the message was driving home hard. And it was also very hands-on. So when you're doing a wedding, it's very similar. Like you go there, you're shooting with real people. There's no script. There's no acting. It's all real emotion, real drama. You're editing it, and you're making it, giving it to them to make them feel really special when they watch it.
Is there ever any acting with weddings, or do you think it's real emotion?
I think it's really emotion.
Have you ever experienced somebody lying about their emotions at their wedding?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, I had a bride once who sat. So I do these. So what started off was a documentary film, so you need dialogue. You know, in white weddings, you have speeches, you have vows, you have all these beautiful things people say.
Yes.
You have readings. In India, you've just got like mantras and shlokas and, you know, chants and prayers, or then singing and dancing. There's nobody ever says anything at an Indian wedding.
Really?
Well, you can't.
It's
really
not common?
It's not. When is the last time you heard a speech at an Indian wedding?
Well, here everybody does do them.
Here is different.
Oh, you mean at the actual Indian wedding?
The actual Indian
you're
wedding.
right. We don't.
There's a sangeet. Maybe if you're lucky, then the
or the
cousins
reception
will,
or something. Yeah. At the wedding, we don't. Yeah.
But Indian receptions back then was also like a stage, an artist performing. They'll call A.R. Rahman, or they'll call someone big and fancy, and then he'll perform, and then the couple are meeting 1,000 people.
Yes.
That's the reception in India.
Yes.
Here it's different. Here you got the cake, you got the champagne, you got the first dance, you got the...
Yes.
You don't have none of that there.
Really?
Well, now it's changing slowly.
Okay.
The MCs are like not so much, and so it is changing now. Now you've got some cool MCs, but when I started, none of this was there. And I think you're trying to bring a sense of, and it should be engaging. But I think more than anything else, what I really wanted out of the wedding films was for the couples and their families to get closer together. So one way of doing that was sit and talk to them, like I'm talking to you. So I'd talk to them about their lives. I'd talk to them about their past. I'd talk to them about what they want, and you know how they met, and the things they're scared of, the things they're excited about, the things they want to share with the world, and the things they want to share with their partners. And then sometimes you realize when you do it at the wedding, they've not even thought of these things through. So it's like a little therapy session. So it kind of...
You do this before the wedding?
I do this before the wedding. But they end up saying some really nice things. And I also found formulas, because in India, you've got arranged marriages and you've got love marriages. And now if it's an arranged marriage, you know the parents have a lot to say. And if it's a love marriage, you know it's the couple have a lot to say, and their friends have a lot to say about each other. And the parents are usually the drama creators in the whole thing. So you have like your formulas in which I work with. But I found that very exciting, talking to people and making these documentaries. And then what you'd end up saying is, families would end up saying beautiful things only to me. And when they hear it again later, I think the families do end up getting closer together.
What's the difference you see between arranged marriages and love marriages when you're filmmaking?
Just a little more conservative, no arranged marriages. But what I've realized now, you talk to parents, and when they got married, their arranged marriage was very different from today's arranged marriage. Back then it was, I don't know, you have never seen you before. This is the girl you're marrying, and this is, and you go to the wedding, and that's the girl you're marrying, and you know you lift the thing and you see her for the first time. Now arranged marriages are like, okay, that's the boy, go meet him. If you like him, then they date for a year or two.
Yes.
and then they get married. So it's like it's an introduction. It's like
Of
it's a
course.
safer introduction
Yeah.
because you know if you fuck up or if they fuck up, mummy.
Exactly.
What have you done, mummy?
Exactly. So you don't see a difference in kind of the couples and their temperaments or anything like that?
You do. With love marriages, there's a lot of pressure on the bride and groom because most of the time they're paying for the wedding. They're doing
Really?
all the stuff that they want. So they're trying to get it right. They're a little more stressed. Just a little. Sometimes. I'm just generalizing here.
Yeah, of course.
And then with arranged marriages, everything's taken care of. And it's more about how I look and what we're doing and how big the wedding is going to be.
This is an interesting point. How big the wedding's going to be. This is everyone's focus right now. How viral is my wedding going to be?
But you all saw the Ambani wedding. It could get that big.
Right.
The whole world saw it, the pre-wedding. But you have that. Then you have the Deepika Padukone wedding, which is beautiful. Love marriage.
It's my ideal wedding.
Intimate.
Small.
Small, 150 small.
Beautiful.
In Como. It's hard. It's expensive.
Yeah, I mean,
50 people in Como is doable.
150.
That's what
like,
Anushka and Virat did. So Virat Kohli is the captain of the Indian cricket team.
Yeah.
Cricket's religion in India, so he's like a god. And he got married in Vienna, in Siena, sorry, the Tuscany, Italy. He and Anushka, and this beautiful little, it was really nice because as I was checking out, Barack Obama was checking in, Barack Obama was checking out. It's like really cool and exclusive and this beautiful property. And he and Anushka and the closest family and friends, only 40 of them, including mom, dad, makeup artists and us, 40 people. And
The dream.
They smashed the wedding. It was the most beautiful wedding ever.
That
3
is
days
amazing.
of bliss. Like no one troubled them. It was like someone had put a bubble around that place and they could just be and had the most magical wedding ever.
It's so interesting because we're seeing celebrity weddings getting smaller.
Yeah. They've always been, all the celebrity weddings I've done have been under 100 people. All
But
of them.
the non-celebrity weddings, you know, are getting bigger, more extravagant, more money, more photos, more videos. I mean, now you're hiring a team of like 4 or 5 content creators to create the best transitions for you. You know, what's the viral TikTok? What's the viral trend? Why?
Why do people want their weddings to go viral? Not everyone does. I mean, a bulk of my work, some of the best work I've ever done, they've not put their wedding video out. Deepika and Ranveer for 5 years didn't share their wedding video. Imagine I was holding on to that video and I couldn't show it to anybody. Nobody
You were
had seen
instructed not to share that
it.
video.
Yeah, it was
What made Deepika and Ranveer change their mind?
pillow talk. I don't know. It's like it's been 5 years.
5 years of negotiations.
5 years of it being, okay, chal, let's do it. I guess that it's just a feeling, I guess. Sometimes you want to share it. It is really, really beautiful, that wedding film.
I've watched that film about 20 times.
Really.
Yeah, it's amazing. And the song behind it is so amazing.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful. But what are you seeing? What do you notice the difference about shooting celebrity weddings and I guess, you know, non-celebrity weddings? Is there a difference?
There is. It's always different when you shoot a wedding for somebody who understands and knows film. Then the normal things I do to make a bride and groom happy just won't fly. You need to push even harder. And see, like Deepika Padukone has been shot by Bansali. She's been shot by Karan Johar with all the lights and all the drama. She's been shot by Yash Chopra with all the lights and all the drama. And she looks beautiful in those films. And how am I going to make her feel even more special than they could make her feel without any of the props and the hair and the lighting and the drama and the sets? You just have to make sure you capture their story right, and you have to be at the right place at the right time. You have to tell it right. Your editing has to be on par with the best Bollywood films you've ever seen. The music we create has to be better than the music that they've ever seen. And then when they see the film, they weep, they cry, and then they call me again.
So you created that Waheguru song
Yes.
from scratch?
From scratch. That's what we do. We make music.
Wow. You mentioned you have to have a storyline. Is there a method? Is there a specific way you tell the story?
No. Each wedding film is different, no? And but what I find, at first I found it daunting and I was really scared, but now I think I've been doing this for so long that I know inherently that without too much of thought, it will come. If you're just there and you immerse yourself into the wedding and the people who are there, and you genuinely find something to like. It's hard. Sometimes you do weddings for people who don't think like you, or who don't love like you, or who don't see the world the way you see the world. And then it becomes hard. It does. But then you have to find one thing you like about them. I just look for one thing, just one thing that I find precious and unique about that person, and then you hold on to that,
love
like
that.
really tight, and then you try and tell their story, and then it works. If you focus on on what irritates you about them, or she's got a twitch, or he's got a thing, or then it won't work. Because not everybody is genetically beautiful, but that doesn't mean that they're not beautiful inside, or they're not.
Sure.
They can't change your life for the positive in some way or the other.
Have any weddings ever changed your life?
So many. The last one I did, woof.
In what way?
Just the groom and the bride, their love story was so inspiring. They met on Tinder. You'd think, like, if you met on Tinder, you wouldn't want to shout it from the rooftops that that's my story.
Why?
I don't know. It didn't seem that romantic. I remember when I was like single and I was looking to meet someone, I was like, okay, if I go on Tinder and meet someone, that's not the most exciting love story. I've heard such lovely love stories, I was changing my car, my tire was flat, and I was changing my tire, and then he stopped, and then he changed my life. You've heard stories like that before.
That's so good. I love that. I mean, actually on that, I think there's a really important lesson. We're told growing up that there should be one kind of structure to love, in the way that you love, your story, how you get married, how you have kids. And I think the difficulty that we're all finding as we're growing up is we can't stick to that narrative. I have found myself in situations being like, I didn't imagine it to be like this for me. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the time I question myself and I think, I can create my own story. I can create a completely different narrative. Why am I allowing my past and what I've heard from other people to be that block?
So I'll tell you this example. This boy met many girls. He's eligible. He's a bachelor. He's good looking. He's well off. He's doing well. And he's ready to be married. So he's, okay, now I need to find someone. Mom and dad, can you help? He's like, bro, I can't. You find your own girl. So he starts looking. He asks his friends. He meets a few girls from his friends. And they're like, none of them do anything for him. 2 or 3 he likes. He's trying to, but not exciting. And then he goes on Tinder. He has like 10 dates at 10 different bars, to a point where he's got a formula saying, okay, if, like, we change a bar every 1 hour, it keeps things exciting, to try and then one day on one of these many dates, he meets this one girl, and she is unlike anything he's ever met before. And their conversation was different. The thing she did was different, and they excited him, unlike what the other girls did. And within 3 dates, he knew that this is the girl he's going to marry, and then spent the next 3 years of his life just like making her feel like there's nobody else in this world but her.
I'm gonna cry.
And did it so beautifully. But then they met on a dating app, and that's romantic now for me.
And this is what I'm saying. I think it doesn't matter if you met on a dating app. I don't think it matters if someone introduced you. I don't think it matters if you bump into somebody on the street. I mean, that's the spontaneous dream, isn't it? But I think that we've got to stop defining our stories by what we've seen online and by what we see in movies as the greatest. Exactly. And, we all can write our own stories. Mm-hmm. And you can make your life as exciting, as romantic, as amazing as you want it to be. It's just that so many of us love to hold on to this romanticizing idea we've seen in a movie and think this is the only way, and I think we're seeing a lot of that in relationships. People are saying, I met this guy, but, I always thought I'd want to be in a relationship with someone who looked like this, who spoke like this, who acted like this. But this guy makes me happy. But for 30 years of my life, I thought this is what was going to make me happy. And I'm in a contradiction right now. And I think that's the hardest thing to break free from.
Break up with both of them.
What do I actually like? And what do I think I like? And that's why in a relationship, when you're leaving, you're like, but I think I like this guy on paper, but he is a nightmare in real life. Mm-hmm. And it seems really simple and logical, but actually to get that balance and figuring out what you want is hard. And that's because there's so many narratives, I think, online.
I know. Online now, it keeps changing. In the 80s, it was, let's meet in a bar. I met at a bar. All the stories in the 80s of people who have been...
Yeah.
And then in the 90s, it was, that wonderful accidental meeting, like Pretty Woman.
The best.
In the coffee shop they met, and she wanted to use the bathroom and she wouldn't get the key, so he buys her a cup of coffee, and then she gets the key, and then these are the love stories you hear. And now it's online.
You touched
now you
upon...
slide into DMs.
Yeah, well, actually I won't say that because my fiance gets very upset. He messaged me and he's like, don't say I slid into your DMs. And I'm like, okay, it's okay. You messaged me about a podcast. It's very fine. You mentioned just now that when you're filming, it can be difficult to sometimes tell the story, right? Now, you went through a divorce, you said, and it must be very difficult to deal with heartbreak whilst also immersing yourself in love every day.
At the time, it was horrible.
And, you know, a lot of people struggle to cope with a situation that is so tough, like a divorce, but then to be filming other people's stories about love. How did you cope with that?
It was hard. First, it was accepting that the woman I love doesn't want to be with me. And it was a marriage of, I think it was for her, it was fear. When she got married, she was pregnant. She didn't know what to do. She was really young. So she married me. But I think soon into being with me for 3 years, 4 years, the first 3 years of marriage for me, I think, was bliss. I was really happy. But I didn't realize that she was not. There was postnatal depression. She moved cities to be with me. She wasn't happy in Mumbai. She wanted to leave. And she left. And when she did, she didn't come back. And it was hard. It was very hard at the time to come to terms with the fact that somebody you love so much doesn't love you the same way. And then you have to go shoot weddings. And, you know, and in India, there still is, there's a little bit of a divorce curse. Like, people look at you differently if you're divorced, I think. And I'd go to these weddings and, you know, the bride's mom would ask me, so beta, are you married? And I wouldn't have it in me to tell people that I'm divorced. So I'd lie. And I'd be like, no, yeah, I'm married. My wife is dead. And I'd be like, fuck. Like, how do you tell somebody you're divorced when they are getting married? And it was, and I'm the videographer. Then I started thinking, am I fake? You know, I'm lying about what I do and I'm lying about who I am. And that was a miserable phase. I think it took me a couple of years to get out of that. Lots of therapy. And it's only much later, 2 years, and it was 2 years of bashing myself, because I think when I got divorced, a lot of the blame came onto me because I'm the man. And it's only 2 years later, after years of therapy and after me going to America to visit my son, is when I realized that there's nothing in this universe that I could have done to save this marriage. She had gone already. She had been with someone. She wanted to be with someone else. She'd been with someone else. And I didn't know. I was very naive. I was very much in love, trying to make it work. And it was much later I realized that. And then it was easy. And then I was like,
That makes sense. You said an interesting point. You said that you were to blame because you were the man. Why did you say that statement?
I think it comes from my past. My parents were divorced.
Okay.
And everyone blamed my dad.
Why? Because he was a man?
Because it takes two hands to clap. I know that now. But at the time, you only hear one story, you know? You only hear it from your mother. So my son only hears the story from his mother. And men don't really get a chance to tell their story in a divorce, usually.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I wonder. But I think with Zara, I didn't want to disrespect her in any way. I didn't want to cross a boundary in any way. I wanted her to be happy. But I was also struggling and trying my best to save the marriage. You know, years of therapy with her, counseling, and trying to make compromises and trying to make promises I couldn't keep. But it became difficult. And shooting weddings when you're getting divorced is like drinking when you're driving.
How did you cope with that? How does somebody at home right now who perhaps has to go to work when they've just had a breakup?
Honestly, I just smoked shitloads of pot.
Okay, well, I'm not going to give that advice.
It's not medicine. It's not that bad.
But, you know, mentally, I guess, what did you kind of learn in therapy that could help somebody at the moment? Because you said you were blaming yourself.
I was blaming myself. And I think it's important to know that in a divorce, it's no matter what happens, it's two people. It is usually two people. There's cause and effect. After I got divorced, it took me about 3 years to start dating again. It took me 5 years to start dating seriously again. I met 7 years. Wow. Because every time I date someone, I wouldn't let anyone get that close to me. Let them get close to me, and then I'd push them away. Just because I think I was scared of getting hurt again, or I was scared of hurting them again. There's a lot of blame put on me, like, you've ruined my life, and you've done this, and you've done... And the intention was never to ruin someone's life. It was just to... Also, like, I didn't know that if you're having a baby with someone, you don't have to get married to that person. No one told me that. Like, I was told, like, if someone's pregnant, you have to marry them. That's the correct thing to do. So we were new in our relationship. We were 6 months into dating.
Wow.
And so the reason for marriage itself was not strong enough. It was because we had a child together. And I think the child and I and her would have all been happier if we didn't get married.
This is a really interesting point that you've mentioned. A lot of the time we marry for the wrong reasons.
Yes.
Do you still see a lot of people doing that?
Yes, I do. I've had brides tell me right there and then that they're not ready to be married. I've had a bride hit on me and give me her room key, saying, "Come to my room later at night," because she had a massive crush on me. She thinks I know the answer to love, and the man she's marrying doesn't.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and so I have these interviews with them, right? And I tell them about love. So I ask him, "So where did you learn about love from?" And she's like, "I'm polyamorous. I see nothing wrong in loving other people and loving more than one person at the same time. I am only marrying this boy because my parents will be happy." And I've had many girls tell me that line, that they're only getting married because it's what their mother and father want for them. And the mother and father have chosen this boy, and the boy is good, he's rich, she's going to be well looked after, she can travel the world, she can buy her bag, she's not going to be any stressed.
Do you ever hear men saying that to you about marrying a girl?
Yeah, I've had that too. I've had men who I don't think are fully ready. But you see, men are stupid also. They have beer goggles and beauty goggles. If she's pretty and she's gorgeous and she's hot, then they'll be like, okay, I lucked out.
But they are also in a position where they don't feel ready to marry someone.
Yeah.
And they are doing it. Has anyone ever told you that they're perhaps...
That there's multiple Indias. There's not just one or two Indias. There's the India which is very conservative, which doesn't think too much about how the youth of today would feel. They may be educated and rich and run big industries, but then they've not really figured out humanity and love properly. Religion and conservation and conservativeness is still very big in these places. And there's some customs and rituals that don't make sense.
Like what?
Like there's a culture in Marwaris in India when the girl side is leaving, the girl and the boy are leaving the venue after the wedding, the bride's family has to stop the car. It's a custom.
Yes, we do that too, Gujaratis.
They stop the car and then they have to apologize to the couple and to the parents of the groom and say if there's something wrong they have done at the wedding, or if they've not been up to the mark, please forgive us. We'll try harder.
Okay, we don't do that.
It's a thing.
What other customs and traditions are there?
Oh, there are quite a few. Even like, the Kanyadan, where you give your daughter away. And technically in the scriptures, what the Pandit is saying, you give your daughter away, she's no longer your daughter, she's now his wife. But that doesn't, if she's his wife, it doesn't mean that she's no longer your daughter. That doesn't change.
The Kanyadan tradition, I think, when you take it literally, like you just said, is the parents giving your husband the authority and also the control of you. That's the literal translation. And I've known a lot of girls that have said, I'm not doing a Kanyadan ceremony. Now, this is really difficult because for the parents, they see it as their duty. My mom and dad would say, we see it as our duty to do the Kanyadan. But do I take it literally that I'm now my husband's property? Obviously not. But do you have people that say, like, I don't want to do that tradition.
Oh, yeah.
And the parents are very, like, what do you do? Because...
No, I think now people kind of, at the level of weddings we do now, I think they kind of know what they want and they discuss it properly with the Panditji. But Indian weddings are very chaotic. Usually the people come from two different customs, two different traditions. They have two different priests. They have two different ways of doing it. Then you see the priests are arguing at the wedding. Nay, we'll do it my way. No, we'll do it my way.
Really?
That's a thing, yeah.
And that's the thing. I think, you can take traditions and you can hold on to them literally and say, this is what they mean and I don't believe in that and I never want to do it again. Or you can take the tradition and say, this was written 10 billion years ago and I just kind of understand it. It's like, them passing, you evolve with the times. And I think...
You can make it different. You can make it
It's a bit
different.
difficult because you can't, I don't want to be like,
I'll give you another example. The horse. The horse at the Indian wedding. There's Punjabi aunties who would be like, there's no way this wedding is happening if my son doesn't come on a horse.
Right.
And I've got the guy he's an animal lover. He respects and he's a member of PETA. And he's like, I don't want dhols and loud music and firecrackers on the horse's feet and scaring the thing away. And I'm mad doing these drums. And, I weigh 80 kilos or 100 kilos and I'm sitting on this horse in the bright sun in Bombay. It's not fun.
Yeah.
For anyone, not for the horse, not for him, not for...
I love that. So considerate.
So then with people like us would have to bring about that change and be like, we won't shoot your horse.
Got it.
So don't get a horse, get a car, get a golf cart, get an auto rickshaw.
Oh, so you would actually interfere in that element?
Then I interfere. Because if people like us don't change it now, then who will? They wouldn't know any better.
So true. Because there's some traditions I think we should keep, and I think there's some we shouldn't. But I also do think it's very individual to people. And some people would say it's too woke to say you shouldn't do a kanyadan, and some people would say it's so traditional to do a kanyadan. And I just think that at the end of the day, it's all about individual choice.
It is, no?
But
like some people will be like, I want to wear Sabyasachi. I want to be a Sabyasachi bride. And then somebody's like, I don't want to wear Sabya. I'm fed up of Sabya. Everybody wears Sabya. So you got both.
it's interesting with the weddings.
What are you? Are you a Sabya bride or?
Well, I'm not a bride yet, so
You're
we'll
going
decide.
to be. I've heard you say fiance 3 times. Tell me your story of. Let's make this your podcast. What's your proposal story?
I'll tell you after. But we're talking about extravagant weddings. You obviously are one of the best, or if not the best, videographer. What are some of the things that you consider before you approve clients? Because you don't take everyone, do you?
No, but it's not usually the cost. It's usually the story. It's usually how they are with me. It's usually whether they truly love each other or not. Because I've been shafted a few times when I've done a few weddings when I'm like, shit, I shouldn't have done this wedding. I only met the bride, I didn't meet the groom. So now you got to meet both of them and you got to talk to both of them together and individually just to know they're doing this for the right reason. Me and Nikki did this exercise. When we came to the UK, I came here last month to meet the registrar. And it was really nice because we had this long conversation and I met him and then Nikki met him and then he met both of us. Just to make sure that, we know what we're doing is legit. And just to make sure we know who we are and I'm not married to 3 other women in Saudi Arabia somewhere. So I've come, this is something I do with all my brides and grooms. So I meet them and I just talk to them about and ask them why they're marrying each other and what they want out of life and what they want out of this memory. Some people hire me for the wrong reasons. They hire me because I'm the best. But they don't really respect or understand filmmaking or the method that we follow to make films. So then I'm struggling to make the film when I'm there. And I'm like, why am I putting myself in a situation with these people just because they're paying me? So you want to make sure you're doing it. Because after, it's one thing is shooting the wedding and then the other is making this film for them. That's where the hard work is.
Yeah.
And then you have to spend 2-3 months of your life with these people very intimately every day. Even if they don't get to spend it with you, you have to spend it with them by editing it.
Of course.
So that's why it's important for me to screen them and make sure that I can find that one thing I love about them. Not just like, but really, really love about them and then hold on to that.
Because you just mentioned that, you've shafted yourself a few times. And you also mentioned previously that brides and grooms have both come to you and said, I don't love this person. I'm just doing it for my parents. What do you reply if someone says that to you and you're filming their wedding? How do you film a wedding?
It's hard.
Like, how do you pretend?
You put on... Well, you're not pretending. You empathize with what the person is feeling and hope and pray that she gets better and it gets better for her. When she's in it now, there's no going out of it. Not in those families in that space. So... And she's marrying, so I know she's marrying a guy who's smitten by her because I've spoken to him.
Okay.
So I think over time, hopefully, they'll make it work.
Love grows.
Love grows.
Do you
changes,
ever...
Love evolves. It does.
I was just going to say, do you ever see that with any of those people that have said to you, I'm only marrying this guy for my parents' sake? Have any of them broken up?
I have not checked yet, but I know a lot of them have actually made it work too. A bulk of them have made it work. Marriage is not gone yet. I think out of the 500 weddings I've filmed, about 440 of them have been really, really successful and have made both of them stronger, richer, fancier, prettier, and healthier.
What would you just say? What would you define as a successful marriage?
Starting a family, for one, for sure. It's either there's some people who have not started families, and I know them. Some of them work with me, some of them I've filmed for, and they've just decided not to have a family. It's just the 2 of us are happy enough. We don't want one. But I think that ability to have your own person where you don't need anybody else. If you have that, and it's just the 2 of you, then no third person is required, and no 5 people need to go on a holiday together to make it fun.
Yes.
Family doesn't have to. They're lovely. It's great to have their support, but if the 2 of you can make it work without any outside interference, that's gold. I think to be able to choose each other every day, even on days when you don't want to choose that person, the days when you want to slap that person, or you want to throw them off the building.
Yeah.
You want to run as far away from them as you can, but if you can still choose them on those days when they've got smelly breath and haven't showered and
I think that's
irritating.
important. I think it's important to remember that you are choosing to be with someone every day. We have looked at our lives, and, you know, for a lot of people, they don't have that choice. But for a lot of people that I know, we are choosing to be with someone every day. And we have to remember that. And that choice involves commitment, and it involves going through the good and the bad. And I think it's very easy to forget that with everything we see right now. Have you ever said no to shooting a celebrity's wedding?
Yes.
Can you tell me who?
Most of the time it's because I'm not available. Like Ranbir and Alia's, I wasn't available. A lot of these celebrities called me 2 weeks before, 3 weeks before their wedding because it's hush-hush. So nobody can know. But the downside is I'm not available for most of them.
Have you ever cancelled a wedding to do a celebrity's wedding?
No, never.
Why?
I didn't do Alia and Ranbir's wedding because I was booked to do a wedding in London for a very, very beautiful, lovely wedding and a lovely bride. I wouldn't change that for the world even now.
I love that.
She was gorgeous. It was a beautiful experience, and Ranbir and Alia would have gotten a nice wedding video.
I love that. Because there's so many people that now message me and say, hey, do you know a makeup artist? Because my makeup artist just cancelled on me 2 weeks before the wedding. Same with the videographer, same with the photographer. You know, it's so frustrating because as a bride and groom, you're relying on these people.
Yeah, you should be able to sue them. I think in London you can, no?
Really?
Yeah, if you've taken advance and then they cancel on you and then you find out they've done another wedding because they
I don't know if they've done another wedding, but that's interesting. If you find out they've done another wedding, you can sue them.
I think you can. Did someone cancel on you? Let's sue them.
No. I'm not not yet, but if they do, we will.
Are you going to call me to shoot your wedding?
Are you going to film my wedding?
I will.
It's on camera, everyone. We all heard that. Okay, everyone, we checked it.
You get friends and family discount.
That's so sweet. That's so sweet. I'm really grateful for that. It's really kind. Well, you have to do the screening first. You have to see if my partner loves me or not.
See?
And you better.
I'll meet him, ask him.
And if he does tell you that he's being forced to marry me, you call me and you let me know, yeah? Yeah, I don't want any of this hush.
Fix all the drama that exists.
Yeah, I don't want any like, oh, Shivani, sorry. He did tell me that he actually doesn't love you like 5 years ago, and I knew this was going to be a disaster. Yeah. Well, I'll know if you cancel on the wedding. You'll be like, sorry, I can't do your photography because unfortunately, your partner doesn't love you, so I don't want to do another scam wedding. What's been one of the weddings that you've done that has had a real impact on you?
I think the last wedding that I did right now. You know, out of all the 500 weddings I've filmed, it's not very often I get to see a wedding like this one. For this guy called Mr. Who's the Boss. He's a YouTuber. My son introduced me to him a couple of years ago. I think his humor is very childlike on camera, and then you meet him. I came to London. I went to Nottingham to meet him and his fiancée and his family, and they were so lovely. But then you think, okay, maybe he's just because of YouTuber. He's used to being nice, but then you go for the wedding, and then you meet his sister, and then you meet his mum and dad again properly. This time at the wedding, and you can see how happy they are. And then you start talking to her, and then you find out the real how he makes her feel. And I was so happy because 2 weeks before my wedding, I get to film a wedding like this, which was so inspiring. I'll show you a clip after this podcast. Yeah. I cut a little portion of his speech, and it's so beautiful. And he had 500 drones, and as a slideshow behind. You know, some grooms have videos playing.
Yes.
He had a drone show playing, and it filled the sky, and there were these beautiful graphics of his life and her life and his home and his school life and everything he said and he did. And he was weeping as he was talking, and she was weeping as he was talking, and all of us were crying.
Oh my God, that's
And then we had
so
lots of tequila and danced the night away after that because it was just so heavy, that speech.
I love that. I mean, from this conversation, it feels like you really love love.
I'm a diehard romantic.
Yeah, I can tell that. Does that ever interfere with the work?
Yeah, I'm busy with Nikki half the time and neglecting the things I'm supposed to do. Ever since she's met me, I've not been working as hard as I should be. I take every little free time I get, I come to London and be with her. Or she comes to India and we run away and go somewhere. And I've been reducing the amount of work I have been doing. I used to do like 40 weddings a year on my own. They're only like 52 weekends a year. So if I'm doing 42 weddings a year, it means I have no weekends to myself.
That's crazy.
Now I do about 12.
And you say no?
Since she's come into my life, yes, I say no.
And you say a no a lot of the time?
I say a no a lot of the time.
Have you ever said no, not because you're not available, but to someone who's very high profile? Because you don't actually get a good vibe? Because there are some people, like celebrities and high profile guests, who perhaps aren't nice people.
I have I've done it quite a few times, actually.
How do you say no?
I just say, no, I don't. Either I tell the planners I don't want to film this wedding, or I tell them I'm not available. I'm so sorry, I can't do it. Or I quote so high that they just be like, okay.
What's the highest quote you've given someone?
$300,000. Pounds, sorry. 300,000 pounds for a wedding.
And that's for the video?
That's for the wedding video.
I love that. That's so great. I might just do that when a podcast guest asks me. I'll be like, sorry, you have to pay £300,000 to film a podcast.
But I mean, it was over 35 days, spread over 4 countries.
Sorry?
With over 42 different outfits for the bride alone.
Can you tell me after whose wedding this was?
Yes, I can.
Thank you.
After.
Actually, yeah, I'll just bleep it out. Give you the inside scoop if you subscribe. If you subscribe right now, I'll DM you the secret. I'm joking, I won't, obviously. But please
Before
do subscribe.
The biggest one I'd shot was in I think Kenya. It was over 10 days. It was intense. But beautiful wedding that was.
How do you balance, I guess, being one of the most successful videographers and also now getting married and like starting a new life essentially?
Do a little less work for starters, so I can, because before I was alone, so I was a workaholic. I just work all day and every day, and I think I enjoy being with Nikki so much because it's very easy for her to take me out of that situation, and when I'm with her, then I'm only with her.
You're very present.
Then I'm very present in the time. It's really nice to have that, no? So even though we don't live together, we don't live in the same country. She lives here, I live there. We make an effort to see each other literally every 2 months. We have more quality time than most couples who live in the same country.
Really? So having a long distance relationship,
it's horribly expensive.
And do you think it can work? Obviously, it's worked for you, but do you think in general, or do you think there's something special that you guys do that makes a relationship work?
All my life, I said, I'm never going to get into a long-distance relationship. After I got divorced, I met, 10 women who I was like, I was not willing to date someone. Bombay geography is like, I live in Andheri and she would live in town, Churchgate. Right? It's like you live in London and she lives in, and he lives in Essex, and you're like, it's a 1-hour train ride away, and you're just like, nah, it's too far. I can't do it. So I wanted somebody within 5 minutes of distance.
I love that.
I was not willing to put in the effort or put in the work, and I don't think anybody was willing to put in the effort and put in the work with me either. And then I meet this girl one day at her sister's wedding. I'm hired to shoot her sister's wedding. I've come to London, I've rented a car, I've driven to a house, and I can't find parking anywhere because London parking, you know what it's like. And so I called the bride and I'd be like, bro, I can't find parking. Can you help me? Like, where do I park? She's like, oh, wait, I want to come out and move my car. And then I'm feeling terrible. I'm like, no. Before I say anything, she puts the phone down. I'm feeling really bad now. Poor girl, the bride is leaving her wedding functions to come and move her car. And I'm like, what is this country?
Why am I here?
What is this parking? And then out comes this girl who I've never seen before. And I'm like, that's not the bride. I know the bride. It's like, has the bride changed? But she was beautiful. And I was listening to Sunrise Radio in the car. And at that moment, there was that, that when Alap was playing, was happening. And
no way.
One little breeze blew and her hair flew. And I looked at her and I was just like, this is it.
Stop it.
Yeah, within 2 hours, I was feeding her. She was getting her mehndi done, so I was feeding her parathas in the house. I was like, a Vishal I'd never seen before was coming out. It was quite... My crew were looking at me like, what's wrong with this boy? For the next 3 days, I was like Shah Rukh Khan from DDLJ, trying to make the wedding happen properly without stress. So I was doing the decor. And things happened. Things happened at that wedding that just kept making it more like, oh my God, it's a sign. Like the wedding was happening at this place called Eastwell Manor. Such a stunning manor, stunning location. And me and Nikki, Nikki's like, I have to go there earlier to go drop the decor things. And I'm like, I have to go there earlier because I have to go check it out. So like, oh, can you follow me? So I'm like, yes, I'll follow you. So she drives in her fancy car and I'm following her in my rental car. And we end up there. And then I was like, we're all alone in this beautiful place. I said, let's do your interview. So we sat and we did an interview and it went on for 2.5 hours because I started talking about everything, like what she likes, her past boyfriends.
You're like, this is your interview for me, actually, not for the wedding video.
So I spoke about everything I really wanted. And she's like, why is he asking me all these questions about my life? I thought this is my sister's wedding video. And then at night, the road that leads up to Eastwell Manor, they shut down because they're going to retar it. They were supposed to do it at 5 in the morning, but because of the weather, they decided to do it at 5 in the evening, So now the bride and groom, the family, the mother, the father, the decorator, the planners, the caterers, nobody could enter the property till the next day, 9 o'clock in the morning.
And what time was the wedding?
Evening.
Oh, thank God.
But then
Where is the story going?
that meant me and Nikki were alone,
All alone.
at this manor with nobody to disturb us the whole night. So we could sit and we just talked and we talked and we talked and we talked. And her sisters also played wing women.
Oh my God,
They were really
what
sweet.
a wonderful
They
story.
pushed her to be with me, and then they pushed me to go talk to her. And they kept putting us in these situations where we're like, oh,
Well, this is a Bollywood story.
was lovely.
I'm very much looking forward to your wedding trailer.
you know,
Do you believe in destiny?
I do.
Why?
I've seen it time and again. I've seen it happen. I'll tell you, like, I told you my mother and father got divorced when I was really young. My father married the princess of Ghana after that. My mother married her divorce lawyer after that. She moved to London. He was in Ghana. Both of them got divorced again. Both of them married again. Both of them got divorced again. And then met at my sister's wedding 20 years ago.
Are they together?
They're together now. So you can never say never. Like, you just don't
Stop
know, man.
it.
No wonder I do what I do for a living, no?
Oh my
I've
gosh.
seen it so many times over and over again that it's like, love is quite complicated, but it's also very beautiful.
What do you think your biggest lesson from watching so much love has been?
It's not failure. If love ends, it doesn't mean you have failed. Failure can also be your best friend. If you make it your ally, you can do great things. Because I've seen it time. If the girl will leave you, you will find a better girl. The job will leave you, you will find a better job. And you get sick. If you feel that is failure, you learn not to put rubbish into your system. And everyone at some point or the other will go through failure, especially in your relationships. And it's the best thing that could happen to you. And it's really difficult because I'll tell you another, like when I was deported and I was sitting there in my father's house, and Shah Rukh Khan would call me and be like, listen, don't worry. It's not so bad. It could have been worse. And it could have been worse. I could have been homeless. I could have not had a father's home to go to. Shah Rukh still paid me for 2 years of me being deported. He paid me every month when I was there.
No way.
It's not like I was without money, or it could have been so much worse. I had time to work on music. I became because when I was working with him, I never had a chance to play and to write and to compose. But I was sitting there for 2 years. I had lots of time on my hands. So I started playing music. I started playing with Africans. And so some would even call that a success. You get time off, you get paid, you're living in Africa, you're chilling for 2 years, you're doing other projects. But to me, it was failure. And when people would call me and tell me, Vishal, like, embrace what's happening to you right now. Take it. And it would make me angry. And I'm like, you don't know what I'm going through. And like, I hate you. But now I see it. Like now, when I came back, when my film shelved, I was making this movie, I was dating Zoya. And when we broke up, it was just like how everything happens just the way it should, I feel. If that didn't happen, then I wouldn't be here with Nikki today. And that is by far the best thing that has ever happened to me.
So you believe everything is written?
If not written, at least it's karma.
Wow. I love that. That is so powerful. That is so romantic. I cannot wait for your wedding speech, by the way. I'm sure you've prepared it so much. I'm very looking forward to it. But before we close, what do you think your best lesson from Shah Rukh Khan was?
Every memory, I remember him telling me this line, and that's one of the lines I used in my company. It's every memory needs a melody. It's a very sweet line. But it's really true. And it's the fact that I compose music for these wedding films makes them different from any other wedding film you see online. There's something about them that makes it stand out, and it's something original. It hits a new nerve that has never been touched before. That's what a wedding film should do to you.
I love that. Thank you so much for this podcast. I think for a lot of people, they see the work that you do and they perhaps don't understand the story behind it. And I think that you shared so openly and vulnerably, but also what I really got is that you're such a romantic, you're so kind, and you love love, and you are 100% doing the thing that you were born on this planet to do. So thank you for sharing it with me.
Yay.
And I'm so excited for Friday for you. So good luck. When everyone watches this video, you'll be married. So everyone say congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.